The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters was originally broadcast on May 17th, 2022.
Aloha and welcome to the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters radio show, sponsored by Mokulele Airlines. It is a beautiful day in Maui, and I am your host, Pamela Tumpop, president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce. Today, we are going to discuss the Maui County budget process and get an update from Council Chair Alice Lee and her thoughts on the overall costs, and discuss affordable housing and rentals and her ideas for sustainability. We're going to hear from the Hawaii Restaurant Association on how restaurants are doing statewide. We've been hearing about the challenges with workers and staffing shortages, so we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And we're going to hear from our friends at Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. But first, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Maui County Council Chair Alice Lee. Chair Lee holds the County Council seat for Wailuku, Waihe'e, Waikapu residency areas. Prior, Chair Lee served for 10 years on the council from 1989 to 1999 and served as the former Director of Housing and Human Concerns from 1999 to 2006. She has advocated for key initiatives affecting the quality of life on Maui for many years. Aloha and good morning, Chair Lee.
Good morning, Tam. Thank you for inviting me on this beautiful Aloha Tuesday.
You're very welcome. It is always great to have you on the show. And, you know, that brings me to an interesting point that I wanted to just note, that you always, on your council meetings, you give a greeting from somewhere across the globe.
Yes.
I think that's so much fun.
We could do that again. Privyet to everyone, and that's a greeting from Ukraine in the Ukrainian language. And you know, Pam, the reason why I do that is because of the diversity of our population here. I want to encourage people to participate, you know, in government, civic engagement, and I want them to feel like everyone is welcome, no matter where you're from, or originally, or your grandparents, or whatever. Because, you know, once you move here, you're part of the community, and we become one.
Right.
So that's the reason why I want to be inclusive to the extent possible.
I absolutely love that, and I don't think everybody knows that's why you're doing it. I mean, people who maybe haven't heard that story, or they're just testifying for the first time at the county council and hear that. And I want to tell everybody, you can find it in the chat. So sometimes if you've missed hearing what it is at the beginning, go back and look in the chat and learn what the word of the day is, or the greeting of the day. But that's such a cool thing. So we've been You're welcome. We love that. We're in the 2023 budget right now. We've been going over some key things the other day, real property taxes and different issues, and just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on how things are going. What are you seeing in terms of the budget process? And of course, we're seeing huge carryover savings. And it's just a very interesting time right now to be in. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the process, and then some of the key things that you think would be good for people to know and understand.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that fiscally, the county is in a very good shape. We have a sound fiscal standing. We have a good rating as far as the bond companies are concerned. So that part is fine. The county is doing well. However, what's not well is, I believe all of us underestimated, and I mean grossly underestimated, the adverse economic impacts from COVID. Mm-hmm. And we are going to feel those and experience those impacts as we move forward in the coming year. And you mentioned we have carryover savings. That carryover savings from last year is, from last fiscal year, is over $120 million. And I predict that our carryover savings will either be the same or exceed that amount in the coming year. And the reason for that is we are having a serious problem with the workforce. Yeah. And it's not a something that is easily resolvable. It's more like a seismic shift in economics that's being felt around the world. Everybody, all businesses, government, on all levels, for-profit, nonprofits, are having difficulty hiring people. And so as the cost of living goes up, that exacerbates the problem we already have.
Right.
And so we have to come together. I mean, we have to come together as a community, as a state, to determine the direction that we need to move in, and everybody needs to be cooperative and working together in partnership. And I'm hoping that I can convince the mayor to convene a certain, an economic summit, which will not talk about, everybody's hopes and dreams. No, we need to focus on priorities, and we need to come up with a implementable plan that works for as many people as possible.
Well,
and it's a serious thing, because the current budget already had a lot of vacancies we couldn't fill, and then we added more positions,
right.
to the budget under those circumstances, and so and then we added more projects to the budget,
right.
which was already bloated with projects. So we have a lot of work to do. It's not done. Our work is not done. It's more like just beginning. And I feel very strongly that everybody has to come together to the table. And I mean, like, we're going to have to change some systemic ways of operation. For instance, we're going to have to work very seriously with, let's say, the unions from the government perspective. We're going to need to work out agreements whereby we can, for the time being, adjust some of our some of the ways we do business. In other words, that we would be allowed to to outsource projects more than we are now, and even on Oahu. They are short. We're short 100 police officers. They're short over 300 police officers.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're doing is that they're starting a pilot project, which would allow for a 3-day work week, but a 12-hour shift.
Right.
And they're going to start off with 2 districts on Oahu, and if that works, then they're going to apply that to other districts, because there's simply not enough workers.
Yeah.
No matter what you do, there are not enough workers. So you have to change the way you operate. Your business practices have to adjust accordingly to the landscape that we're dealt with as a result of COVID. So again, our budget, and I can't blame the mayor, because we added to a big budget.
Right.
So it's all, we take full responsibility. We have to take responsibility for what we voted on in the budget. Even though I personally kept asking the members to let's concentrate on economic diversification. That's the only road that would lead us to diversifying our revenues. We rely too much, as everybody knows. Everybody knows we rely too much on the visitor industry. And most of our funding comes from the visitor industry.
Right.
And on top of that, we are getting an additional $60 million in TAT, transit accommodation taxes. So, again, we haven't moved away from that, and we have to begin to do that. And I know the reason why we haven't is because it's very difficult.
Right.
It's easier to just, continue to create different ways to extract money from the visitor industry.
But
But
we're
that's
way
not
behind.
sustainable.
No, we're way behind. I mean, we've been, and not just Maui County. We've been sharing with the state for the entire 16 years I've been with the chamber, annually every year, an economic diversification plan and ideas of things that they need to look at. And, we're just not getting there. We don't really have a comprehensive state or county economic development plan.
Right. Exactly. And we have to. That's one thing when I saw what was happening with the overemphasis on tourist management, I created my own advisory group, and the advisory group came up with a very significant proposal in the budget, and that would be there's this comprehensive economic development plan or strategy that's developed every so often.
Yes, the SEDS plan.
From the federal level, state level, and the county level. And so when that plan comes out in, I believe, July or August of this year, we need to be ready to implement that plan. It's not just another plan to look at, but how do we make it reality? So that's one of the proposals. Kelly King and I actually proposed to the budget committee, and that passed. So we'll have money in the budget for implementation of that plan, and that's very key. Another key thing that we're working on is one of the impediments to a workforce is workforce housing.
Yes.
And so we our small little group came up with this proposal to create enabling legislation to prioritize occupational preferences for housing, because we need to, although the need is universal, the greater need right now would be public safety, which would include the police officers, healthcare workers, and teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So we are looking at enabling legislation to prioritize those groups since we're in the serious shortage situation. So, the council is not, sitting back on their thumbs. I mean, we are looking at this problem, and I think going forward we're going to have to just come together. The council, the administration, the public, we have to work together. We can't just, no one group, no one leg can walk forward by itself.
No, absolutely true. We're all going to have to unite. So count the chamber in. We've been doing a lot of work on economic development and housing of late. But, the other thing is, and we've been sharing at the state level as well, when we're talking about workers, and every chamber, we surveyed our neighbor island chambers as well before this legislative session, because we knew a minimum wage increase was also going to be proposed. But every chamber had housing as one of their top initiatives this year. Normally, we're economic development, things that affect businesses, right? But we all had housing because of the worker challenges in getting housing and people leaving the island, which we've seen. Of course, COVID exacerbated that as well. But we keep educating lawmakers to say, you can't raise the minimum wage enough to adjust or to correct the problems we're having with Hawaii's cost of living. You have to, and one of those highest costs is housing. You have to address housing if we want to be getting back into a reasonable range. And we're so, as you know, we're so far behind. But I'm excited to see that what you're doing. And again, we, the council and the mayor, are working fast and furiously to get more housing and rentals in place. And Linda Schatz is doing that project, right, to help teachers on state land.
Yes.
And so there's things actually like getting into implementation now, which is really exciting.
Yes, and that's why we need to continue on that path and focus rather than, what happened in this budget and possibly in the previous budget, is we're putting too many things on the wish list.
Right.
Knowing full well that they're not achievable in 1 year. So that is why, what the council, some of us on the council wanted to not delete any projects, but to phase the funding of the projects to a more realistic schedule. And same with the bulging additional positions.
Right.
We realized over time we're going to need those positions. Yeah. So don't necessarily cut the positions, but phase the funding of the position. Again, try and be a little bit more realistic of what we are actually capable of doing, as opposed to, what we can afford to add to the shopping list.
Well,
the shopping list might look good, but then the question is, can we actually implement what we put into the budget? That's the question.
Exactly.
And my concern is, I highly doubt that, because we're struggling to hire people now, you know. And so what's going to change by adding more positions?
Right. Well, no, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if we're struggling now and you keep we can't fill the open positions and we keep adding more positions. But the other thing is, and people have asked me, and again, coming out of the state legislative process, there were so many needs that we're sort of triaging, right? We want to put some money here and put some money there. But where's the priority in the plan? And that's what you're talking to, right? We need to prioritize the plan and look at what the timing is, when the resources are needed, and to start with the focus on the priorities. So it's great to have a well-rounded plan. We need a multi-year economic development plan, a diversified economic development plan. So that's great, and to have a long list of things that help us achieve that. But then in the plan, you always break the plan down into achievable goals, right? So 1-year goals, 3-year goals, 5-year goals, 10-year goals, 20-year goals. So, I'm hoping that as the budget moves forward, we see that and we can educate the public on what that looks like, right? And when we put things on the list, people go, okay, well, I've been heard, right? And that's good, but we got to get to the priorities.
Precisely, and that's the reason why we need to do a better job of communicating with the community, with the public at large, because we need their support. No matter how well our intentions are, and no matter how right we might be, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if we don't have the support of the community.
Yeah.
And if we don't have that support, to me, it means that we have not communicated our message sufficiently. Yes. Because if they knew what we really are up against, then they, I believe, would be inclined to join us and help us.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's about better understanding. We've got a couple quick minutes, Allison. I'd love for you to just share, you've convened a group to look at diversifying our economy. What do you see as just a couple, 2 or 3 or 4 quick ideas that you think would be some of the top diversification ideas or sustainable ideas?
Well, again, the sustainable ideas is to bring people together who have not only the knowledge and experience, but who have a reach. In other words, one of the people that I asked to be on this advisory committee was a person who was in charge of one of the honchos with Morgan Stanley, and his last assignment was in charge of Morgan Stanley in Japan. So he has knowledge of monetary policy.
Right.
See, if we had more economists helping us, that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
But we don't have it. Do you realize we do not have an economist that works for the county?
Wow,
not one person.
I didn't realize
has those kinds of credentials.
Oh, we might be able to help with that.
Yeah, and our group talked about that. We were very interested in proposing that as a budgetary item, but because each member, was restricted to a certain amount of items, I withdrew that. And then, because we asked the administration, would you put this as a priority? And they didn't necessarily agree that it was a priority. So in other words, before you add things to the budget, you need to check with the administration whether or not they are inclined to implement or support your proposal, because that's the way government works.
Right.
Because if you just put a position or a project in the budget without their support, it's just going to sit there and turn into a carryover savings situation.
Right. And we have so many bills that have have economic impacts. I sit on the Hawaii Economic Association, which is a group of primarily economists. But there are so many great internship programs with economists, the students with UH and others. So anyway, I'll connect with you on that. But there are some amazing students that are doing great work. But, again, so many of the bills, just without even looking at where we're going in the future, just so many of the bills that we're looking at and saying, hey, there's some pretty significant economic impacts, but people often don't have the money to do the research and hire the people to study what those impacts might be on policy we're currently creating, and then let alone moving forward.
Yeah, and that's why we all need to sit down and start to work together and become more focused, because, and I believe government can be a leader in that aspect of, creating economic diversification. I think your organization would be a leader. And so, it's a matter of less talk, more action, and let's hurry up.
Yep, absolutely.
It comes down to that.
Absolutely. Well, Alice, as always, it's great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and sharing with us about the budget and where we need to go with economic diversification and setting some priorities.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I want to also thank you and the Maui Chamber for always being there for the council to have objective feedback on our policies and what the legislation that we propose and pass. So, we need your input, and we thank you for providing it so freely. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. It's our pleasure, and we appreciate the opportunity always, and thank you for the great work that you do for our community.
Thank you, Pam, and have a great day.
You too. Aloha, Cheryl. It's always great to have Cheryl on the show. She is so informative and just has such a great vision for our community. I just want to take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, Mokulele Airlines, and we'll be right back.
Mokulele Airlines operates the largest commuter airline hub in the country, right here in Kahului. Fly Mokulele from Kahului to Molokai, Lanai, Hana, Waimea, Kona, and now Hilo. Mokulele also operates the only flights between Kapalua and Honolulu. There is never a middle seat on Mokulele, and every seat has a window and aisle. Visit mokuleleairlines.com and take your next flight from the newly renovated Mokulele Terminal.
And we're back. Our next guest is Sheryl Matsuoka, the Executive Director of the Hawaii Restaurant Association. Sheryl is a local graduate. We always want to know where people graduated from. And she graduated from Kalani High School. She is happily married and a mother of one. Her professional background includes National Utility Contractors, Honolulu Executives Association, Hawaii Jewelers Association, and Toshiba Business Solutions. So this is a woman who is a dynamo in bringing people together and getting things done, and now heads the Hawaii Restaurant Association. Aloha and good morning, Sheryl. How are you today?
Fabulous. How are you, Pam?
Things are getting better, even though we're seeing Omicron case counts rise again, but things are still moving forward, thank goodness.
We see the cases rising, you're right, and restaurants are still asking for the community support.
Yes. Tell us about what's going on. Your last update was in the last quarter of 2022, and we kind of discussed what's going on then, but since the reopening, tell us how things are right now.
Well, restaurants are still having challenges, and, we're going to talk about today the staff shortages, of course,
yes.
All of the supply chain shortages, which is increasing all of our costs, not only cost of food, cost of supplies, cost of gas.
Yes.
So we have a lot of things that we're dealing with, and it's been very, very challenging. So we really ask the community support and understanding as we go through this. Many of the, comments that I receive is they arrive at a restaurant and the service is a little slow because the staff shortage.
Yes.
They look at the menu and they say not all the offerings are there because of the supply chain disruption.
Right. And that's really important for people to understand. And I've been going to some local restaurants here, and actually even in Honolulu, I was over there for the SBA Awards the other week, and you're seeing new things. So you're seeing places where you now wait in line to order. Somebody's not actually coming to the table and taking the order. And in some cases, in Honolulu, I think I was at Nico's, and you go in line to place your order, and then you go to do the pickup. And then you can sit outside here at Maui Brewing Company. You get in a line to place your order, but then somebody delivers it to your table. So we're seeing a lot of diversity. So we want people to understand that the experiences can be different than what you're used to.
Exactly. Where restaurants in prior was full service, where, as you said, a server would come, take your order, deliver your meal. Now you're right. It's every restaurant is trying to find out what is that niche for them and what the consumer will, some people want to be served.
Right.
They want the food to come to their table. And some people, they don't mind. They say, I'll just wait, and when my order is ready, I'll just walk up to the counter, as you did at Nico's, and pick up my meal and then go back to my table. Every restaurant is trying different methods. At our Hawaii restaurant show that we just had, you saw a lot of apps where people will order the food on their phone, prepay it, show up at the counter, show them their phone, and then their order is ready.
Wow.
And that cuts out the person as a cashier. It reduces the staffing, and it's unfortunate because, not everybody wants to order food on an app. Some people would still want to talk to somebody and make their selections and, adjust the menu. And yet some people just like doing the apps and just ordering the food and picking it up or having it delivered.
Yeah, it really is all across the board. And businesses are struggling to figure out the model. I mean, they're working so hard because their customers are diverse, so the needs are diverse. And it's trying to find that balance. It's so tough.
It is exactly. If you're a quick serve restaurant, people are used to apps and they don't mind doing it. And yet there are some people that rather walk in, versus going to the drive-thru and place the order with their specialty and their requests of, add more this, don't put on onions, those kind of things.
Right.
And then you do have the full serve restaurants who are also, struggling with the staff shortages. And have been reporting that labor costs are up, because of the staff shortages. Restaurants are reporting anywhere from 12 to 15%. And minimum wage goes up in October 1st, so they anticipate even higher labor costs.
Right. And what we've also, I know you and we and others, because so much of the discussion and debate around minimum wage was, of course, what are high living wages in Hawaii, but a lot of that is in government's control, and housing is a huge part of that. But the challenge we keep also sharing is what the public maybe isn't connecting with as well is as those labor costs go up, so do pricing. And so it comes back to them. It all gets passed on through and comes back to them. So that's, something that people are seeing as well. They're seeing the prices go up because all that whole worker chain is moving up. When people are increasing at the bottom level to fill the lower positions, then increases go all the way across the board. So it's a big challenge right now.
It is a really big challenge, and one of the items that one of the booths that was at the Hawaii Hotel and Restaurant Show were the robots. Yes.
And we've been watching those for years. I mean, these robots are pretty sophisticated.
Yes, they are. I was in an LA hotel. I think it was a Hilton property 5 years ago, and a robot did bring my towels to my room.
Wow!
And that was like 5 years ago. And then we saw them here at the show in March. And so more so, we know that restaurants are just looking at ways that they can the robots clean the floors. They sweep and they keep everything tidy. There's security robots. Of course, there's the delivery robots. There's, food where it looks like a cement mixer. Did you get to see it, Pam?
I did not. You know what? I found out about your show when it was already happening. So next year I'll have to get on the list. But okay. I heard it was super awesome. You did an amazing job.
It was so successful. Everyone who attended felt that it was really a quality show. Some of the success stories were the robots. Another success story is, people are just looking to network again.
Yes.
And many of the vendors, the suppliers said that they connected with so many people that in the last 2 years, not a whole lot of meetings were happening. So this show was so valuable to his sustainability of his business and letting people know all the new products that he's providing in a face-to-face show.
Well, we would also love to talk to you about doing something like that here in Maui County. We think that would be so fun, and we could pair it with some of our Made in Maui County folks who offer new products to the industry as well. So I think but you did a heck of a job in Honolulu. Everybody was raving about it. Our mayor went, and he came back raving about it. And just so many cool opportunities there, but really important to understand, not only are we looking at apps, and this is going to be a huge shift. I mean, we were just talking with Council Chair Lee on what's happening with workers. And of course, we see it from the industry side and all industry sides. And of course, now it's in government, it's in the nonprofits, it's everywhere. We've got this worker shortage. And, on the mainland, they've been using a lot of robots for a lot of different things. And I don't know what else we're going to do at a certain point. But once you go there and make that investment, what many don't recognize is once that happens and we transition to that, those jobs don't come back. You may get other jobs or jobs around it, but there's another worker shift when that occurs.
Exactly. And we already saw it with the iPad ordering,
yes.
Which all came in, 4 or 5 years ago when some of the restaurants did iPad ordering. You see it today, right, when you go to a lot of the restaurants where you just walk up to an iPad kiosk and then you just put in your order and you walk up to the counter and pick it up.
Yes.
It's just unfortunate, but it's going to happen, and this is our modern restaurants that are just moving with the trends of what the consumer demand is.
Right. And the key thing is people want really good food, and they want it served hot.
Yes.
Right? I mean, unless it's cold, but they want it served the temperature it's supposed to be as quickly as it can be. And so there's going to be new mechanisms to get us there.
Exactly. And the Chamber did a survey, right? And we're all navigating through all these challenges of the worker shortage, the supply chain, all the price increases. And unfortunately, layoffs are going to probably happen come October 1st. And looking at, right sizing your staff to fit your model as rents keep going up and supply costs keep going up, food costs keep going up. So what is that right model? And that's what everyone is really navigating. A restaurant is a business. It's like any other business.
Right.
And they have to look at the bottom line, and our margins are already so small. So we look at everywhere we can to try to, stay in business and provide the hot meals, the tasty food, and the experience that our consumers are really wanting to enjoy.
Yeah, and it's a very tough business because we saw so many issues where you're always having to prep in advance. You're having to bring food in advance with the anticipation of sales, and of course, that was one of the huge challenges as they shut down. It was, okay, you're shut down, and then food would get wasted. And then a month later, they'd think, okay, it's coming back, and they'd rebuy, and then, nope, we're still shut down. And so they went through this, many iterations, and thankfully the restaurants got some great federal relief. But here we are, and many of them also still are paying off, again, for their spaces. They still have past lease rents due. So they have huge burdens.
Right. Many restaurants are reporting that they still have past due rent.
Yes. Yeah. Do you have an idea of what that percentage is?
No, I don't, but I will tell you, when I do speak to all the restaurateurs, I do know one out of at least 5 restaurants will mention that they definitely have some kind of, past due rent that has been delayed, not forgiven.
Right.
And that's the word, right? That they have to pay it at some point and in smaller chunks. And you're right, Pam, as it was 2 years, right? Yeah. And we're still digging out of it. The restaurants are hoping, the Hawaii restaurant card expires at the end of June. And so our message is if anybody was gifted a Hawaii restaurant card during the holiday season, those green cards are expiring at the end of June. And many of our financial institutions, our construction companies, got behind the Hawaii restaurant card and purchased them for their employees and as gifts to their colleagues to help stimulate the restaurant, food service, and the whole supply chain.
Yeah.
So if you have them, please use them, everyone.
Yes, please use your Hawaii restaurant card. That was a unbelievably great program that really helped boost so many restaurants, but also gave phenomenal gifts to people. So what a great idea! But folks, use those cards. So it ends at the end of June, June 30th.
June 30th, and we really want to thank American Savings Bank. They really, we needed a bank to process all these debit cards, and it's a pure MasterCard, and you can put your cocktails on it. It's a pure debit card.
So anything you find at the restaurant that you want to use, if they get there and there's a T-shirt, can they buy the T-shirt too?
No, unfortunately, they can't. It has to be food related.
Food or beverage?
It can be food, cocktail, yes. And it's also not only restaurants, but it's also coffee shops and bakeries and bars and taverns. So anybody who is a food service entity, you can use your Hawaii restaurant card.
Okay, folks. So, I'm one of those people that gets things like that, and sometimes it sits in my wallet. So look in your wallet. Do you have a Hawaii restaurant card? Make sure that you don't lose out on that benefit because it was such a great program. And it still today is a great program. We still have till June 30th because our restaurants, our bars need your support. Our coffee shops, the whole gamut. We want to encourage everybody, shop local, make sure you get out and use those great cards. And Cheryl, we've got a couple quick minutes, but maybe, any other big ideas that you see coming forward to support the restaurant industry?
We really are looking for the community support. If anyone knows of anyone, as we're dealing with staff shortages, please email me, call me, let me know if you have an idea of somebody, a niece, a nephew who's looking for a job. Reach out to us because we are dealing with staff shortages. We also ask the community's patience as we're going through all these changes, such as the price increases and the supply chain shortage. Yes. And everyone, we appreciate their continued patronage as we deal with all of these changes that are not going to go away soon, Pam.
Yeah, no. We wish they would. We'd like to blink our eyes and do a little genie move and hope that that's all going away. But we're in this for the long haul, and as we and other countries see case counts rising again in waves, we need to protect ourselves and take time to be patient and be kind and work together. It's us all coming back around together, and I think. I appreciate you giving this industry update because it's important for people to hear this news. Sometimes we hear it on the news, but when they hear it from you, Cheryl, as the executive director of the Restaurant Association, it makes a difference. It connects them with what we're having here locally in our state and in our county and just reminds them, remember we love and cherish our restaurants, and so let's continue to support them at this time.
Yes, please do. Thank you so much for this time, Pam.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, Cheryl. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You have a great day.
Yeah, I will. Thank you. You too. And we'll have you on again soon.
Okay.
Thanks a million. Aloha. All right. Well, that's very true, folks. And by the way, at the Maui Chamber of Commerce, we are also looking to have a staff position to fill, a member services director. If you might be interested in joining a dynamic team who works with businesses in every industry across Maui and gets involved in, as Council Chair Alice Lee shared, ringing in on county council issues affecting our community and looking for new solutions, please give us a call. You can reach us at 244-0081 or email us at office, OFFICE, at mauichamber.com. And our next person here today is the Senior Business Development Officer of Hawai'i USA Federal Credit Union and the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Chair of the Board of Directors, Sylvia Ho. Aloha and good morning, Sylvia.
Good morning, Pam. So good to be here with you this morning.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. I know Hawai'i USA Federal Credit Union was one of the organizations that was really helping people trying to get their PPP loans as so much was going on with that during the pandemic. But let's talk about where Hawai'i USA Federal Credit Union is now and how long have you been in this business?
Well, for me, actually, I've been with Hawai'i USA Federal Credit Union for exactly 12 years this month.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Well, Hawai'i USA Federal Credit Union started as Oahu Teachers Number 3 Credit Union in 1936.
Wow.
And our membership now actually available to businesses who are registered to do business in Hawaii. Our headquarters actually is located at College Walk, Honolulu. We have branches. Of course, we have 2 branches in Maui, and also we have 10 branches in Honolulu, on Oahu, and 1 on the Big Island, and 1 in Kauai.
Wow.
So we are really expanding. We have branches all over the state.
That's fantastic. And what's one of the things that makes Hawai'i USA Federal Credit Union different from other institutions?
I would say my personal opinion, Hawai'i USA stands out is our commitment to provide. Our slogan is Life Matters. So it's our commitment to provide Life Matters moments and financial education to our members, staff, and the community. So, of course, we offer very competitive banking products and services to our members. And more importantly, we connect with our community. We provide financial education, presentations, and workshops for our business members and also to college students and high school and elementary students. So that is something, of course, I enjoy doing. And so we not just, provide competitive banking products and services. So we are here to actually provide financial education. So we would like to, the community become much smarter managers when they are handling their own finance. So I would say that is more. We are much more special because we have resources and we spend our time to educate our members and the business members and community.
I think that's really awesome. And I know you've been engaged in that work, and I especially love the work that your folks are doing with the youth and helping them understand financial literacy and savings. It's so important. And, of course, every time we have a big, whether it's a natural or man-made disaster, and we see a downturn in the economy, of course, one of the key things we always encourage people to do is have savings so that they can draw on that during these critical times. So teaching our children for the future is so important. That's great work. Thank you so much for doing that. Tell us a little bit about the diversity of services that you offer. Well,
we actually offer financial products and services. We offer comprehensive banking services and products. Yeah. so we have personal loans. I mean, on the personal side, we call it commercial loans and consumer loans. So we offer services to both areas. And actually, Pam, I would like to go back to the first question. I would like to also mention, not just we provide financial literacy to the youth, we also established student operate credit union. So in Honolulu, we have we call SOCU, Student Operate Credit Union for Waipahu High School, and they've been doing that for 28 years.
Wow.
Whereas on Maui, we have one at Maui High School. And we are celebrating actually the 10th anniversary of the Student Operate Credit Union at Maui High School. So that is something that I would actually, we are very, very special. We actually not just to provide the education, but also we have a SOCU on campus. So that is something really to encourage the students to engage, to learn personal finance, and also want them to be an advocate to provide financial education to their fellow students and to the community. That's something that I want to actually mention from the previous conversation. I just mentioned earlier.
Yeah, no, that's a great addition because that is a really unique program to teach the kids from the ground up and running a financial institution and having them do that is really exciting. I think that's something that we could spend a whole show on that. We're going to have you back just to talk about that because that's exciting to learn how that works from the inside out and maybe bring some students on. That would be really cool to hear about. So tell us.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. So let's take a moment just sort of on the business side. So you mentioned you do both personal and commercial loans. Do you do mortgages?
Yes, we do. For the consumer side, we do have whether first mortgage or second mortgage or HELOC, and just any mortgage services that a bank offers. We actually have the same programs. And then for the commercial side, then we also have commercial real estate loans and line of credit, and so many others as well. And one more unique thing about Hawaii USA is we partner with Hawaii State Teacher Association, which HSTA, a mortgage program for HSTA members. So what it does is we offer great interest rates and reduced closing costs for educators, so who are looking for a home in the state, because we really want to help them to be established on island, and then they can stay once they have their home here.
Yes, that's so important, and there's so many programs right now trying to really help our teachers because we know that this is a very challenging place for them to actually get that home and get established and raise their children here with our high costs and teacher salaries, which everybody's looking at those as well. So really such exciting programs, Sylvia. And you mentioned that you've got 2 locations on Maui. Tell us about your 2 locations.
Well, one actually in Kahumanu Shopping Center, and we've been in operation more than 20 years. And then we also have a branch in Kihei, is at Lepua Center. And so that is in operation for almost 4 years now. And we started at Times Supermarket 7 years ago, and after that, we feel that it's about time that we should have our own location. So that's when we moved to Lepua Center.
Oh,
so they both,
that's fantastic. So you started at Times, then you've moved to the Lepua Center. So that's a great place. So you've got an expanded branch size there.
Absolutely, yes. And then we'll provide more. There are more space, and then we have just like because we see that the expansion of the population increase in the Kihei area, so that's why we thought that it's about time for us to have our own branch, have more space for the staff as well as for our members.
That's fantastic. I know one of the other things that I saw published is a program to help youth start a savings. Can you tell us about that?
Mm-hmm. Yes. For youth savings, we do have programs like we have called a Safari program. And then actually it's catered for kids, for minors. So when they I think turn age 16, then the guardian or the parents actually can change over to the kids. They will become the owner. But that is really for the kids when they start saving early. So we have that Safari program. And we also have, for the investment side, because Hawai'i USA is one of the credit union that we have investment services, so they can meet with a financial advisor. They also can start a 529 savings plan as well. And of course, either the parents or the guardian will be the owner of the account, but eventually can be switched over when they become at their legal age.
Wow. Great to hear. And the investment side is interesting to know, too, because I don't know that people often think about that with a credit union. So that's good to know that you're doing that as well.
Yeah, you're correct. Actually, most of the credit unions on island, they don't have an in-house financial advisor. Or else, Hawai'i USA, we do have one, on location, so that they can meet with the members for their, investment needs. Yeah, right.
Oh, so that's fabulous. Thank you so much for spending the time sharing with us about Hawai'i USA Federal Credit Union and joining us on the show. We're so glad to have you on this morning.
You're very welcome. It's so fun to be able to join in the conversation with you. That is really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we hope you have a great day, and we'll have you back again soon.
Thank you. Thanks, Pam.
You bet, Sylvia. Aloha, and thank you for all you do for our community and, of course, for the Maui Chamber of Commerce as our chair. We truly appreciate you.
Yes.
Every week we say the same thing. It goes quick. But thanks so much for joining us for Business Matters today, sponsored by Mokulele Airlines. I'm Pamela Tumpah, president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, wishing you blessings and best wishes for a beautiful Maui day.